Do you hear the whisper men? The whisper men are near. If you hear the whisper men, then turn away your ear. Do not hear the whisper men, whatever else you do. For once you've heard the whisper men, they'll stop and look at you.
Welcome to Mark 42's WHOniverse, Doctor WHOniverse that is. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, and with me is...
Patricia-helm.
And Eduardo-m-freyre.
I'm Batman. I'm the Dark Knight. I'm the thing that criminals are scared. Oh, sorry. You see, I get confused with the name. I'm Christian-basel, not Christian-Bale. Sorry.
Easy mistake. Easy,
yeah.
Yeah, very easy. Well, you know what, Christian, not a problem because one day I woke up and I still had the microphone on, so for some reason I thought that I was turned into Bane. But yeah, it just turned out I'd slept with the microphone still attached.
Be careful when you go into the bathtub.
I think we better move along here.
Yeah,
I think it's time for...
Well, it's time for the news with our Doctor Who correspondent, Patricia-helm.
Hello, everybody. I hope everyone had a good week.
Oh, yeah, we had a great week.
Oh, yeah. Got to be back on stage. Woo!
Yep. Oh, there's not much in the way of news this week, actually, because everything was kind of focused on the finale of Doctor Who. But there was a few things. Matt Smith has confirmed that he will be continuing to play the Doctor through Series 8. And also BBC announced there is going to be a Series 8, so that's good on both counts.
Oh, that's definitely good news. Cause,
Always good. Always good.
If there was no Series 8 and the show was going to end on the 50th anniversary, the setup that we got this week would have been perfect, wouldn't it have?
Actually, it would have, yeah.
It would have. Hey, they could be ending the show, but they're not. Luckily, okay.
And also at the end of the finale, we got a confirmed date for the 50th anniversary special, which will be November 23rd, 2013,
Woo-hoo!
Which is a Saturday, the same day it actually premiered. So,
wow,
kind of cool.
50 years.
Can you say synchronicity, children? I knew you could.
Sting can say synchronicity.
Yeah, the ratings will go up this time.
And speaking of the 50th anniversary, Steven Moffat spoke very briefly about how well Matt Smith and David Tennant got along when they were working together on the 50th anniversary. And then when he was asked if David Tennant is in fact playing the real 10th Doctor, all Steven Moffat would say was, "I'm not telling you." So...
Oh, God, no, not again. Look, Steve.
Talk to Mr. Moffat.
Steve, look, okay, you know what? All right, I'm going to make a plea here, okay? I have no idea whether he listens to the podcast. I don't know if he's heard of the podcast. I hope he does. I hope he has. I just want to say, Steven, I just want you to answer one tiny little question. Just a yes or no, okay? Just yes or no.
Just one question.
Is David Tennant the 10th Doctor, or is he that stupid hand clone?
But that would be a spoiler. Why should we learn about that before it happens? I'm very happy to be surprised if
it does turn out to be hand clone.
Yeah, even if it turns out to be hand clone. If it turns out to be hand clone, it'll be something that's in the story to make it make sense, and it'll work. Steven Moffat, people have a problem with him as a showrunner, but when it comes to when the episodes that he writes, we have the finest episodes. He may not be the most brilliant showrunner, but he is an excellent writer. And if he writes a story where David Tennant is playing the hand clone, then for God's sake, let's watch it because it's going to be good.
Okay, well, I would really hope that
I hope he's playing the Doctor.
I really do. No, I love your sense of enthusiasm. I really do. But
I was just going to say, I mean, we've really, this series, especially read all the blogs, everything. I'm on Facebook, everything, Twitter. Most of the Whovians have kind of went on a turn for Moffat, and it started its decline after the Bells of St. John. They went a little bit downward, and it started its descent at the Rings of Azkaban, and then it kind of just teetered out. And especially, we've been doing surveys on, oh yes, go ahead and drink up the Legend of the Traveling-Tardis. A lot of people who, we say on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being terrible, 10 being absolutely great, what do you think? And I see very few, like maybe 1 or 2 of like 200 people who went in there and said, gave it below a 10. And everybody was like, oh, huffy, puffy, oh, it's going to be terrible, it's going to be horrible, and then the old doctors are back, all that. And I think, we down Moffat, we had to go through hell to get to heaven, for a better sense, to get to this great episode that came out. And it was spectacular. Yeah. It's the 50th anniversary. We'll give it a shot. We've seen what's going to happen. Let's give it a shot and run with it before we go all huffy-puffy.
Well, I do have a rebuttal, but if you could finish the news first.
Yes, there was just one more thing in the news. It was actually kind of a sad story. Aubrey Woods died on May 7th, 2013, and he was 85 years old. He played the controller in Day of the Daleks, and he also played Bill the candy store owner in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, wow.
He went from singing about the joys of the Candyman to helping the Daleks take over Earth. You kind of have to wonder, did he just grow tired of giving the kids candy? Just all right, the hell with this. I'll help these salt and pepper shaker guys take over the world. Geez, they just kids had to get on my last nerve.
What do you expect when you're feeding kids sugar?
Seriously, but seriously, I mean, I loved him in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. There are many times I find myself humming the Candyman song, and I thought he made a great one-shot human villain in Day of the Daleks. So rest in peace.
Oh, and I just want to say something about the audience reaction, global reaction to Name of the Doctor. Christian and I actually got to watch about 200 people watching that episode, didn't we, Christian?
It was awesome. I mean, the best audiences to watch Doctor Who with our Whovians.
Oh, yeah. And they were so happy with the episode. And next week, we're going to actually have bits and pieces, interviews with people who are at this viewing party at Hurricane Who's Series 7 finale party. It was incredible, and we're going to have them on it. And anybody who is there who's listening in, hi guys, and you'll be on next week, so be ready for it. It was incredible, and it's going to be exciting because next month they're having the Hurricane Who's Summer Night with Dan Starkey. Dan Starkey's going to be there. Good old Strax.
Nice. He's not going to be armed, is he?
Well, he'll be legged.
That was bad.
That was bad.
That was bad. I'm trying to make a joke because he played a Centauran, and you that's what you follow up with. Dude, no. No. I'm sorry, no.
And we were able to do interviews. Christian was able to get pictures for the Traveling TARDIS on there, and it was a great evening.
Great. Wish I could have been there.
Yeah, no. Wish I could have been there too.
I was working. I had to catch the episode later. Wish I could have watched it with a bunch of Who fans.
Oh yeah.
But Trish, is that anything else?
Nope, that is everything. That was
a
slow news week. Everybody was totally focused on the finale.
Yeah. And I will give a shout out to how many people is it that got their Blu-rays early?
210.
210. Well,
including
I do have
somebody who was at the event. Someone who was at the finale party had already seen it, and he was keeping his mouth shut. He said he was not giving spoilers out.
To all of the 210, including the person who was at the event, I just want to say, as a Who fan, thank you. Thank you for keeping quiet. Thank you for not, jumping at the bit to, do the internet stereotype of, I now have the DVD in my hands. I am going to post spoilers. Take that, take that, BBC. Take that. We now know the secret. You can't keep it from us. The fact that they restrain themselves, I appreciate that. And, while we're on the subject of being a fan, I do wish to say, when we started, with this episode, and also last week, there was a little, you and Christian did talk about, what it is to be a fan, and also about some of the recent criticisms. I will say that for my part, I've been a little critical of some of the recent work. I do groan in, sometimes mock, sometimes not. I do groan over certain things. But, the thing is, though, is that, this doesn't mean I'm any less of a fan. This doesn't mean that I'm not looking forward to the 50th anniversary. I am. The thing about being a fan is, there has to be a balance. Right. You can't just take everything that comes in and go, oh my god, this is going to be so awesome. Oh wow, this is so cool. Oh, they can do no wrong. Of course, by the same token, anything negative, you can't always jump to, oh my god, that's it, the show is going to be over, oh god, it's going to be canceled, it's going to suck, I can never watch it again. I have been, and this is the thing, I have learned about, I did take college classes in film criticism, so, especially when doing this show, that does affect, my, kind of sort of job with this.
Right.
I do have to look at it with a critical eye, so I do have to be honest. And to be honest, I think that actually makes for a better fan, that you will have to say, look, I love the show, I love Matt Smith, but if you don't like something, you shouldn't be afraid to say something. You shouldn't be afraid to say, look, I love the show, but I'm sorry, I didn't love Rings of Akatan. I'm sorry, I didn't love Cold War. I'm sorry, I didn't love Town Called Mercy. You don't have to like everything. You also don't have to be hypercritical of everything, but you do have to, be willing to say something when you don't like something. And as for the 50th anniversary, now I don't want anybody to think that, now that I'm boycotting the 50th, or I really don't want to watch the 50th if I don't hear a news report saying that Moffat was hiding the fact Tom Baker was running around the studio. I still want to watch the 50th. I'm hoping it's good. The twist, which we'll talk about later with this episode, I actually was intrigued. I want to see where they go with this. I have a few theories. All of my criticisms are based more off a concern. A concern that the 50th will be what it's supposed to be, which is really a celebration of 50 years of Doctor Who. The reason I criticize the thought that David Tennant may be playing not the real 10th Doctor, but rather the hand clone. That's based more off the fact that, for my 2 cents, I would much rather that for the purposes of this celebration, if you're going to have a doctor, that it be a real doctor and that you not try to pull off some sort of facsimile. If you're going to have the 10th Doctor, have it be a 10th Doctor, not a copy that was made in an episode a while ago.
Yeah, but Ed, tell us how you really feel.
Well, I'm a fan. I'm a fan, and that's the nature of fandom. Is can be a very strong thing.
Doesn't the word fandom come from fanatic?
It probably does.
It probably does.
But you get the idea. You get the idea. I mean, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I do want to watch the 50th. I'm hoping it comes out. If it's really good, and all my worries are for nothing, I'm going to be happy. I am going to be really happy. I want to worry for nothing.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope you are. Okay. Well, I think we're going to be getting to the meat of the program in just a moment. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Come to Florida SuperCon July 4th through the 7th for the largest comic book, video game, anime, and sci-fi convention around. Meet George Takei and stars from The Walking Dead, Firefly, and the original Power Rangers. Meet the stars of Adventure Time, Pokemon, One Piece, Soul Eater, Invader Zim, and Aqua Teen. Meet the comic book artists of Superman, Spider-Man, and The Watchmen. There's live music and entertainment over 4 days at Florida SuperCon July 4th through the 7th. Visit FloridaSuperCon.com.
Kid? Yes? Shut up.
Beyond the Night is the GCRN's latest review podcast. We are covering everything in the Knight Rider television universe, from the classic 80s TV series to the 1991 reunion film, Team Knight Rider, and the 2008 relaunch series as well. So join TFG and Mike and Dion the Music Man as they go in-depth and Beyond the Night only on Geekcast Radio Network. You can find Beyond the Night in iTunes and on www.geekcastradio.com.
Kid?
Yes, Michael.
Just keep driving.
And we're back. Well, we'd like to thank you all for coming and listening to the Mark Who 42's WHOniverse. As I said before, I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, and with me, of course, is Trish-Helm, Eduardo-m-Freyre, and Christian-basel. Okay.
Yeah, while we were on the break, after my heartfelt little editorial, we all hugged it out. We're all sitting around singing Kumbaya.
Yeah.
We're all just hugging out. There were tears. We were all sitting there going, "I love you, man."
Well, all I can say right now is that this is a spoiler alert. You have entered the zone where we will be telling you everything that you knew or didn't know about The Name of the Doctor. If you have not watched The Name of the Doctor, please press pause now on your listening device and watch Doctor Who, The Name of the Doctor. It was an excellent episode. We will let you press it right now. Okay, if you're still listening, I will turn off the alert now. We are in the spoiler zone of Mark Who 42's WHOniverse.
Yay!
So what do we think of the show, folks?
I paused mine.
You paused yours. Well, good for you, Chris.
Sorry. I didn't want to hear any spoilers right now.
No, Christian, you got to hear spoilers. You were there. You were there.
Yeah.
Well, I love the episode.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done. From the beginning to the end, it sucked you right in the beginning.
I thought it was the best episode this season so far.
So did I.
Moffat really pulled his show out of what was starting to me, a little bit go down the crapper. Not really going down the crapper, but, it was starting to lower. The ratings went down. I don't know what the ratings were for the show. I bet they were higher than the previous weeks.
Not by much.
Not by much?
They were like 5.5 or something like that?
5.5, yeah. 5.5 million the overnight, yeah.
Well, the hype didn't draw people in.
No, even the Snowman got the highest out of this, or one of the highest out of the season. I think it was a 7.9.
That was the Christmas episode. There were more people.
Like I said, I don't even go with those ratings because they got a quarter of the night's audience.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, the next thing up was like 7.7, 9.2. It was probably, I think, like 18th or 20th of the week.
And of course, people can watch it on the iPlayer for another week. So at least from my personal experience, if you guys remember, I was plugging my appearance in a variety show hosted by B actress Beverly Bonner. Drink.
And
I didn't see the episode when it aired.
Right.
Instead, Trish and I watched it, online.
So you're one of those people, if you were in England, you would have been one of the people who were responsible for it to get low ratings.
Probably. Of course, you guys were part of a viewing party at a bar, right? When tallying the ratings, they probably wouldn't go to the bartender and go, okay, how many people are watching?
Right.
And then when this bar fills to capacity, how many people is that? Okay, would you say it was filled to capacity when the show is on? They're just going to go by, if they tabulate the ratings the same way Nielsen's do, that may not factor in. It may not factor in, the fact that I didn't watch it as it aired because, I was working. It doesn't mean I didn't love the show. I was working. I was on, at the time that Doctor Who was airing, I was on stage or in an announcer booth. So, I couldn't be watching Doctor Who and announcing at the same time. And as far as the episode itself, I liked it. I liked it. I still think the best episode we've had so far is Cold War, but I did like the episode. What I did like is, we finally, it was promised and it was delivered. The mystery of Clara was solved. We now know the deal with her. That is over. It's done, and I liked that. Okay, we do have a mystery that we're going to have going into the 50th.
Yeah.
But as far as Clara, the Impossible Girl, that's done. We're done, and I'm glad, because I didn't want that. I didn't want that now to be something that would be hanging over everything. Now we can move on, especially because then we can work on her character, besides the fact that she's a mystery.
Yeah.
And the fact that Clara, what she did, how she saved the Doctor, she just jumped right to the top of my list as being one of the best companions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she must really love the Doctor to be able to sacrifice herself like that, because she didn't know she wasn't going to die. The Great Intelligence died after he went to all the places. It could have happened to her. She sacrificed herself in her mind.
Actually, to me, what that felt like is it felt like parting of the ways again.
Yeah, but I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start with the beginning of the episode.
First, the Earth cooled, and then came the dinosaurs, but they got too fat and died out and became oil. Oh, wait, that's too far, is it? Okay,
yeah, that's a little bit too far.
That's a little too far, okay.
Let's go. What did you think about Clip Week on the BBC? It's like Shark Week, except it's with clips.
Well, I thought it was so cool when they start off, on Gallifrey a long time ago. And I was like, I wasn't expecting that.
Well, I like how they did that. You had those two blue collar looking technicians. It's like, when we first had that scene, you didn't know that this was Gallifrey, but I love how they just kind of surprised you with that.
Someone was stealing an unauthorized TARDIS, and then after they say that, and for half a second we're like, where would they be? I mean, then it goes to the shot Gallifrey a long time ago. And it was like it gave you a second to think, what are they talking about, stealing a TARDIS? Where could you find TARDISes? And then you find out within a beat that it was Gallifrey.
That happened so fast I didn't even have a chance to go, wait, what? TARDIS-I? I mean, the minute you just said TARDIS it started pulling back. Yeah. I was like, oh man, this is starting out on Gallifrey. And it was the moment, it was probably the moment that started it all with the first Doctor stealing the TARDIS. I will say this though, it's interesting that they show it, because this kind of, when they showed it, they used a colorized image, colorized clip of William Hartnell as the first Doctor. The thing about this though is this basically means that it is now canon. Okay, it's now set in stone that when he left Gallifrey, he was looking like we saw him in An Earthly Child. Now, I'm not saying that...
Well, the same as and I'm jumping ahead, the same as the TARDIS. The way it looks now is the way it's going to look at the end, too, of the Doctor's life. I don't think you have to worry. I think that's going to be creative license.
So in other words, if somebody does want to say that... if somebody does want to do a story where they say that when the Doctor left Gallifrey, he looked like a 42-year-old William Hartnell, they can still do that.
Yeah, I would think they could, especially because of the TARDIS at the end.
Hopefully, well, yeah, that is actually another. I'd forgotten about that, but yeah, that is interesting, because you're kind of setting in stone that the TARDIS, the way that especially when we see the TARDIS in this episode in Trenzalore. Yeah. It pretty much implies that the TARDIS is going to have this desktop theme for the rest of its life.
And we know it's not. So, it just...
Yeah, so, of course, you could probably do some creative license. One thing, though, I think about that sequence, cool sequence, but Clara, when she talks to the first Doctor, well, first of all, we do have her basically getting the ball rolling. She's the one who points him to the TARDIS.
Right.
The thing, though, about that, the thing that gets me about that is the Doctor, the first time, we're led to believe that the first time the Doctor clearly saw Clara, was the snowman, and then he recognized her voice as Soufflé Girl.
Uh-huh.
The problem I find here is that when she's talking to the first Doctor, he can see her clearly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's clearly Clara. And one has to wonder, I mean, why has the Doctor never been like, I don't know, you look like someone that I met a long time ago back home.
Well, it was a long time ago. I mean, you could have forgot.
And it was very brief. He was in the process of leaving Gallifrey. I mean, he wasn't. I don't think he was really paying attention to what she looked like.
No.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah.
And in the narration, she doesn't say that those were the only two times that, as in the Snowman and in the Asylum of the Daleks, that he had recognized her. She said it was rare that he recognized her. And so
yeah, but you see my point.
Yeah, I can see that
in the sense that when we had the Snowman, when we had the Snowman, the idea, what was put across, the idea that was put across was that the Doctor recognized Clara's voice from Asylum of the Daleks.
Right.
It was never established in any of her appearances. Asylum, Snowmen, Bells of St. John. He never said anything about, your voice sounds familiar. I mean,
you don't have to say everything.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is that just the way of at least this interaction, the interaction on Gallifrey. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, he was running. He was like kind of in a rush. But it's not like I could understand if when he ran into her, she would be wearing, the typical Time Lord robes, or kind of something that would be obscure enough that, he wouldn't recognize her offhand. But, it was pretty clearly Clara, and done in a way that she could be recognized. And I think didn't the Doctor once say in an episode that he remembers everybody he meets?
Yeah, he actually did. You actually found you actually found a line from the show that supports your theory, and I have to say you're right.
Trish, what episode was that? I
think it was A Good Man Goes to War.
Yeah.
He was talking to Lorna.
Yeah, in A Good Man Goes to War, he does say now, mind you,
she was dying. He could have been saying it.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been.
The Doctor lies.
No, I was thinking that Clara was going through the motions, going through time, ending up her timeline's she's getting split apart. I'm the impossible girl, and all I could sit there was, wait a minute, in this one is she a Time Lord?
Yeah.
Because how she ended up on that planet unless she was born to a Time Lord, or unless she really came from Earth and she just popped out of nowhere.
They said that she was going to be split and scattered across all of time and space.
Right, but we see her being constantly born in another location. We see her as a baby here and somewhere there. So I'm thinking she's being born and raised. So there is a split where she ends up being a Time Lord?
I suspect because there is a precedent. It has been established that on Gallifrey, not everybody is a Time Lord.
All Time Lords are Gallifreyan, but not all Gallifreyans are Time Lords.
Exactly. So it could be possible that the Clara that we saw interacting with the first Doctor and with the fourth Doctor, while this was on Gallifrey, she could have simply been a native Gallifreyan, but not a Time Lord.
I do like that they did... that we're going into the name of the Doctor. It seems to be a running thing from all the way back to Silver Nemesis. And finally seeing a glimpse and answer to that question where Lady Painfort's going up to the Doctor and going, Doctor Who? Have you ever known where he came from, who he is? When I think, if I'm not mistaken, is actually the starter kit from when we finally see the very first time where the identity of the Doctor and the Doctor Who question comes to play. And then later on we see
and that was the 25th anniversary Ep story.
That was the 25th anniversary, ironically. Yeah, just a quarter of a century there. And then later on, Madame de Pompadour, which I thought would be interesting because she's seen mine and actually seen for a better term, or we'll just say for John Hurt's character, the Valeyard, I thought she would freak out. It's like, oh, I know your bad side too, so I might want to get away from you. But she accepted him. But now it's finally established. We finally know the secret of the Doctor, which is very nice. I like the fact that we have now pulled in and incorporated the old classic into the new stuff, and it is now being mixed into the pot where it's actually controlling the stories and making the timeline now for the Doctor. So we haven't officially thrown away the classics. They are now part of the Doctor in his new persona, in his 11th persona. And we haven't gone and just chucked everything away. In fact, we're pulling in. In fact, 50th anniversary, we're pulling in the Zygons.
And everyone was afraid from, some of the rumors, especially, and also the fact that everyone's saying that the Doctors will not be appearing in the 50th anniversary, that Steven was throwing everything away and only looking to the future. And in fact, he's totally looking back.
See, I did have, and going against everybody in the blogosphere who said, these episodes are terrible and the name of the Doctor we don't want to know and all that, I still have what Ed called in Moffat We Trust. I did have the faith. He's a Doctor Who fan.
Yeah.
He's been steeped in this. He's been growing up with this. Why would somebody just take it and just, poop on it all of a sudden? He knew what he was doing from the start.
And the episodes he's written have been some of the best episodes, haven't they?
Right. He writes the entire series. That's it.
I know.
Well, hearing
occasional Neil Gaiman comes in. That's about it.
Hey, that's what they used to do. British programming used to the series. They were 6 episodes long, so that you could write every episode of the series. One writer, creative control.
It was kind of cool. Kind of cool seeing Clara not just interacting with the First on Gallifrey, and kind of setting the whole thing off, but it was kind of cool seeing her chase after the Third Doctor and Bessie, and and then chase forth down the corridors of Gallifrey during I think it was supposed to be Invasion of Time. I will say I was joking with Trish that I was like, oh, watch, Clara is going to have a stepping stool, and she's going to be the one that's going to save the Seventh Doctor from falling in Dragonfire. And lo and behold, the clip they use of the Seventh Doctor is him literally, the literal cliffhanger from Dragonfire.
Oh yeah, I know. I've always loved that clip.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me! Oh my God! I was just laughing my head off. I will say this: I do love the twist. I do love how, the answer to how it is that we had Clara in, all these multiple times, and how is she still around if she died. The thing is, though, this goes back to, my criticism of the whole mystery.
Uh-huh.
In the sense that this could have been set up a little better, other than at the last minute Forrest Gumping her into these different eras.
Right.
This had, I mentioned Rose and Parting of the Ways.
Yeah.
With that, you had the whole Bad Wolf thing.
Right.
And I think I've mentioned this before where, when it was the build-up to that, you had a casual reference here, a little thing there, and then when we got to the end, it was like, it's actually been Rose all along trying to talk to herself. They could have done more with that. Moffat could have done more with that. Okay, a big example that comes to me right now is in the lead-in to Nightmare in Silver. From the episode before was Artie and Angie showing Clara the computer and being like, "What are you doing in these different time periods? Is that you?" You could have had something like you did have Victorian Clara,
right?
But you could have gone even further. And you could have done, for example, you could have had maybe a picture of Clara, maybe kind of a blurry picture outside of unit headquarters, circa 73.
Mm-hmm.
You could have had a picture of Clara from, say, 1930s New York, circa Angels Take Manhattan. You could have set things up where, you have these little tiny clues, and it's like, wait a minute, she's there.
Right.
but then how is she with the, you could have done stuff like that, but instead it was kind of, again, it could have been more setup, and you could have done it Bad Wolf style, where you just do little bits here and there, little glimpses of her, where you go, well, wait a minute, how is it that she was in 1960s London during the invasion? You could have had, you could have had Artie and Angie show a picture of abandoned London and go, but wait, who's that in the storefront? And, they zoom in on the picture and, it's Clara, They could have done that, and I don't know why that wasn't chosen. I don't know why instead the way to blow the mystery along is, Clara's the impossible girl. What's her deal?
I kind of ran onto that ideology, and I thought, well, first of all, I like the fact that they used probably the worst cliffhanger per se clip.
Cliffhanger, yeah. That's always been my joke on it.
Exactly, the worst cliffhanger ever to explain how Clara is now, going to save his life. That somehow another doctor thinks it's a great idea to take his umbrella and climb down it to hide from his enemy.
Oh, in the book it's explained. They explained it in the book. Explained away. Speaking of cliffhangers, we've got to leave you on a cliffhanger, so we'll be right back after these messages. See how I do that? I've learned the art of segue. Doctor Who may be off our airwaves until November, but you don't have to do without the Doctor during his 50th anniversary year. When the show was originally off the air during the 1990s and early 2000s, Virgin Publishing and BBC Books released original novels featuring all of the past Doctors and companions. Though now out of print, you can pick them up from Mark Who 42 Books. The books are all in excellent condition and ready to ship right away. Whether to read or just finish your collections, go to amazon.com/shops/markwho42. That's amazon.com/shops/markwho42. Oh, will we ever get out of that commercial break, back to the show and back to Christian's point? What will happen? Let's find out now on this episode of Mark Who 42, WHOniverse, with Mark Baumgarten, Christian-basel, Patricia-helm, and Eduardo-m-Freyre. Christian?
I'll just have to have a long blitz just pull me up on my umbrella. But, where were we? Anyway, I was thinking along the side, there could have been a better way to explain the Clara character. I wish they could have. And one of the things I thought of was, what if she continued to die and come back? Like, if she died...
Matt Stone and Trey Parker would sue.
Only the Doctor.
Oh my God, they killed Clara!
You bastards!
But if she if she died in an episode and then all of a sudden he goes into the submarine and there she is,
right?
Helping out the team, or then she dies in Hyde, gets trapped somewhere, and then he goes back into Nightmare in Silver and there she is, with the army. Just kind of continually dies out. I think that would have played better. The only thing that would have been a drawback, it would be another, of course, it wouldn't be another Rory thing going on there. But I think it would have been. Done it. Yeah, but I thought it also would have explained the dynamics of why she's coming back and all that stuff, and it's just like, why does she keep dying and coming back? Because she only dies twice and then comes back, and he does everything to keep her alive at this moment.
Yeah, I thought, what would have probably been interesting is maybe like a Nightmare in Silver. We would have had a cliffhanger of sorts where he fails again. And, we could have had something leading in where she's like, where the Doctor is going, I tried so hard. She survived a haunted house. She survived a sub with an ice warrior. Why did I fail again? Why does she keep dying? And then you could have done something to answer that. You could have,
well, now the finale would have really drawn on to it, and then you could have gone to every clip and say, here she's died, and then she comes back, and she just nonchalantly enters his life and then dies out again. And then I think it would have strengthened her story, and people would be going, why is she dying again?
Do you have more to go, Christian? I think you were done with the point. I wasn't sure. I wanted to move on because we're staying in the first 5 minutes of the program, and we need to. Yeah. Was there more?
I kind of like the Glasgow Fight Club.
And that's
nice.
That's
yes.
The trio was back. They're going to get their own show. They are totally getting their own series.
Oh God! Actually, to be honest, I don't know. I don't know if I want them to have their own series per se, but I would love something a la the Crimson Horror, except maybe this time have them throughout the entire episode, just them. With
Crimson Horror was basically the Gary 7 episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be nice if next go-around it was just totally the trio. No sign of the Doctor or Clara or the Doctor and whoever the companion would be next time they decide to do that. Just do it completely the trio with maybe at the very end the Doctor shows up. Yeah. I would love to see something like that, but I don't know. But, it's one of these things where they're great guests. I don't know
if they could... they could carry a show? Because you're asking for them to carry a show.
I would say, probably, I don't know if they could do something week by week. Mm-hmm. But I think in little bits, in little bite-sized bits, they're actually kind of fun. I could see them maybe carrying one entire episode.
Right.
But not, week after week, it would then start to get a little boring.
Yeah, to our new listeners, we are, of course, talking about Madame Vastra, Jenny, and Strax.
Strax, yeah, which, by the way, I mean, I swear to God, every time Strax comes, I just have to laugh. When they were looking at the energy, all that time energy, that's the Doctor's lifeline. What I love is, Madame Vastra thinks it's beautiful. Everybody's thinking it's so beautiful, and Strax is like, "Do I destroy it?"
And if you want to meet Strax, you go to Hurricane Who's Summer Night on June 15th. It's going to be amazing. He's going to be there.
I really hope somebody has Strax leave his weapons at the door.
I also think, and if you agree with me, Mark, the hardest laugh that Hurricane Who was all 200 people were laughing their butts off.
Right.
Was the kiss scene between the Doctor and River Song, and the Doctor realizing, wait a minute, you're invisible.
Now the only thing is before that line, I pointed out to my girlfriend that exact point. I said, this is probably looking very weird to them, and then they said it.
Yeah, and I was thinking it the whole time.
I was
like, he's just kissing air.
I was thinking it's kind of the Doctor doing that thing that, that joke of, pretending to make out in the corner and, just kind of wrapping your arms around yourself.
So, River was back in the episode, and this was a post-library River, wasn't it? And everyone was kind of scared about that. How were they going to bring a post-River because she's supposed to be dead? Well, they seem to do it very well.
Well, I found it interesting the way that they did it, in the sense that this is sort of a River hologram interface type of thing.
They were in a dreamscape. Their conference call was in a dreamscape, and I love the fact that they have a desktop in their dreamscape. I would have liked to have seen the Taj Mahal settings on it, but it was a nice set. A nice virtual set they used for the conference call, where they were discussing the secret of the Doctor.
And I do have to love how Madame Vastra got a letter to Clara.
Oh yeah.
And and what I love is the little stints like, and just in case you don't believe this, the powder's also in the letter. I mean, that was a great little comedic. That was a great little comedic bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as post-library River, very interesting thing. Kind of an interest. I was kind of worried that they'd do this hand-waved resurrection, but I think the way they did this, interesting, and it gives River kind of a new role as sort of a conscience type of thing. Mm-hmm. She may not be able to interact with the rest of the physical world, but she may be able to show up on occasion and advise the Doctor.
Yeah.
And and Clara can see her as well, so. You kind of have someone who can then talk to the two of them.
Right.
And, I can see some interesting stuff coming out of that. Or maybe she just talks to Clara because the Doctor's trying to tune her out. But it's interesting that he's kind of accepted that she's gone, kind of put her in the same category as people he no longer has. I will say, though, the only thing that's frustrating is River was the one who said the doctor's name. We didn't hear her. And honestly, I don't mind that we didn't hear the doctor's name, because that's one of the things that I'm kind of like, keep it a secret. But what does get me is, again, one of the things about River's character is that we know she's going to die, and, there are a few things that have yet to happen to kind of set up for that. One of the things is the doctor tells her his name.
Yeah.
So, it seems like in the future we may have an appearance by pre-library River where he gives her the sonic screwdriver, he gives her his name. We really haven't had setup for that. And, I'm kind of, that was the only frustration, but I will say that I did like River's appearance. That I think that this new status quo does have potential. And that it wasn't just, oh, here she is again, where in the timeline is she?
I liked her. I liked her showing up and being her usual self. It was nice. I missed her. Yeah. And it was kind of scary, though, when towards the end of their dreamscape sequence when, the Whispermen had broken into Madame Vostra's house, and I was so afraid. I really thought that they had killed Jenny. I was like, no, you can't kill her.
Yeah, no, I was glad that, well, I mean, while she does die, first of all, I love that Strax remembers that the only reason he's alive is because he promised the doctor he'd be a nurse. So it was great to see him revive her, and it was also cool that when she gets blinked out by the changes to the timeline that the Great Intelligence was doing by going through the Doctor's timeline and having him defeated each and every time. I'm glad that was undone. We had Jenny back, and even though Strax went back to his usual Centauran self, it was kind of great that he went back to being, sort of the murderous comic relief. I'm glad that all these changes were stuff that was undone when everything was set to right. Because I wouldn't want to lose the trio. Especially after Jenny kicked ass in the Crimson Horror. I mean, she deserves more chances to do that.
That relation back for when Vastra says the Master's line, or at least somewhat close to it, the line where, the universe without the Doctor, when the Master says in the Fifth Doctor, and he's going like, okay, if the universe doesn't exist with the Doctor, this is really scared to think about. So I love it when Vastra kind of brought that line back from the Master and interpreted it in the way she said it in this episode, and we actually instead went in the Five Doctors, when we didn't really see the effect yet, we got to see what it did in this episode, which was really cool.
I mean, just think of all the times when the Earth or the universe could have been destroyed. You have Logopolis with the heat death of the universe. The Earth would have been destroyed by Sutekh. There are dozens of, you can probably think of at any point, how billions are in jeopardy because the Doctor's not around. And while I think that the Master was being slightly facetious when he said it in the Five Doctors, Madame Vastra was being serious. Not only is it scary to think about what would happen to the universe without the Doctor, I do have to say this episode had some pretty intense jump behind the couch moments.
Yes, it did. That one part when they're going through the catacombs and River appears to Clara again and is talking to her and telling her about, being saved to the library, and then all of a sudden one of the Whispermen just comes right through her.
Yeah, that
scared the crap out of me.
That was, oh God, yeah. And then just and then that moment where the Whispermen break into Madame Vastra's house while she and Jenny are at the table. And just the whole thing, I mean, that was just a super tense moment. And then when you have the Great Intelligence, still using Dr. Simeon's looks and explaining, the deal. When he rips the skin off and you don't see anything underneath, I was like, what the hell? I was like, what the hell? I was like, what? I mean, that was just, thank God I wasn't drinking anything. I would probably spit water at the screen. That would have been a spit take right there.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question, though. Here's a question that I want to bring up to Mark and Christian.
Okay.
All right, as far as doctors that we've seen in this episode.
Right.
Okay, the first Doctor we get on Gallifrey.
Definitely.
The second Doctor was somewhere with palm trees.
Sunny California. He was in sunny California.
Yeah, they used footage of him running from the time scoop in the Five Doctors to put like a California setting.
Am I the only one that's weirded out that the Doctor is in his fur coat and everybody else is walking around in shorts and stuff?
Well, I'm guessing that this was supposed to be like some sort of untelevised adventure, maybe during 6B, but
noticing this. This is California.
Yeah. But anyway,
except for Colin Baker, when have you seen the Doctor? Or actually, Tom Baker did it too. When have you really seen the Doctor dress for the weather?
That is true, and who knows? And again, this looks like an untelevised adventure, so who knows? There may be a story behind it. But in any
and Patrick did wear the fur coat in the Ice Warriors and the Abominable Snowmen, which of course was a Great Intelligence episode. So.
Okay, so we had the third Doctor in Bessie.
Yeah.
We had the fourth Doctor in Gallifrey. We saw the fifth floating. I guess was he supposed to be in the Matrix?
He was in the Matrix. He was in the Matrix.
Okay. Which, by the way, means that we have Clara 3 times on Gallifrey.
Yeah.
Or maybe twice, because it might have been the same Clara helping 4 and 5. But anyway,
it could have been once. It could have been the same Clara completely.
Exactly. It could be that Clara was on Gallifrey. It could have been
There's
the
a
same
Time
Clara.
Lord that looks like Clara.
Maybe. Anyway, so we had the 6th Doctor. We don't know where they were supposed to be. Maybe they were on Gallifrey. Maybe they were in the TARDIS. The 7th came from Dragonfire. 9 was in that final scene as one of the Phantom Doctors running around.
Right.
We had her in the library with 10.
Right.
She was on the balcony. This is the thing, though. Did anybody see 8?
I didn't see Paul McGann at all. I did not.
I didn't see 8. I didn't see Paul McGann at all. According to Trish and I were looking up info on the TARDIS wiki.
Yeah.
And it says that 8 was there, but for the life of me, I'm running through the episode in my head. I'm doing the catalog of where every Doctor was. I'm thinking of every Doctor that was in the cemetery scene at the end. And for the life of me, I can't remember where 8. Yeah, I can't remember seeing 8 anywhere.
It said on the TARDIS wiki that in the BBC America version that the part with the 10th Doctor got cut out. But I'm thinking maybe they made a mistake and put the 8th Doctor. Because
no. I watched the BBC version after I got home. He was not. I didn't see him. I may have.
Okay, so I mean, I'm kind of wondering.
Not have been looking for it.
Actually, Wikipedia confirms the 8th Doctor wasn't in there. It follows, it says, the first was colorized from the Aztec, the second, third. Both are from the 5 Doctors.
Right.
4th from the Invasion of Time, 5th from the Ark of Infinity, 7th from Dragonfire. And then you see a run-in with the 6th, the 9th, and the 10th. But the 8th one is nowhere to be found.
Paul, where were you?
Weird.
Yeah, I kind of wonder.
Could it have been some kind of copyright issue?
The 8th Doctor was in the previous episode, Nightmare in Silver. His face
right.
popped
You're
up.
right, he was.
The next Doctor, when they showed the images of the Doctor, he was in there.
Right.
So it can't be a copyright thing. Because
right, so it can't be a copyright thing. I mean, I don't know if it's a story thing or they just couldn't fit it in, or maybe, we missed it. It was blink and you miss.
Or maybe Steven Moffat left him out for a reason to be found out on November 23rd.
Maybe. But getting to that scene again, when we see what's behind door number 2, Monty, when we see the TARDIS console, and we see what is in the Doctor's tomb, I do have to say, I mean, first of all, I like the Doctor's line. What were you expecting? A corpse,
right?
And I also did like what they, what it was the Doctor's time stream. It was all that time energy from the Doctor's travels. One of the things I do like that does is it means, okay, the Doctor is going to die one day. Which I mean, yeah, everybody dies one day, but then they're not backing themselves into a corner by making it Matt Smith's corpse. They're not, they're allowing themselves that, okay, Matt Smith is, that we'll have Doctors after Matt Smith, and this is just going to be far into the future.
Far into the future, and you know what else is far into the future? The end of the show. So we're actually going to go to another commercial break, and then we'll be back with more Mark Who 42's Universe.
Oh, jeez.
The Pull Bag is the GCRN's place for everything you need in the comic book world. We focus on new and current comics, while also tackling a few back issues here and there. So join the entire GCRN crew and see what issues the hosts have with today's panels. You can find The Pull Bag on iTunes and geekcastradio.com. Make your great escape into comics.
Welcome to a collaboration between the Geekcast Radio Network and the Pop Culture Network. This is From the Command Center, the podcast. I am your host, TFG and Mike from the GCRN, and joining me is Zordon himself. Scotty Cash.
That's right, Scotty Cash from the Pop Culture Network, and today we're introducing you to the audio version of From the Command Center, the podcast that will entail our intake on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the episodes, the seasons, and all that other good stuff.
And we're back with Mark Who42's WHOniverse. I'm Mark Baumgarten, and with me, of course, is Patricia-helm, Eduardo-m-freyre, and Christian-basel. We've been talking about the name of the Doctor, and really, did we ever find out what his name was?
Please,
John
no.
Smith.
Lucky.
No.
His name was Please.
John Smith.
His name was Please. No.
It's John Smith. He always says it. My name is Smith. John Smith.
Is he related to Sarah? I don't know.
Not related.
His name is John Hurt.
Can I ask one question?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so, Clara jumps into the time stream. She gets torn into a million pieces and goes all over the place. But then, she hits bottom.
Uh-huh.
And the Doctor comes and finds her and take her out. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious, is she going to remember all of those lives? Because it seemed like as she was falling, she was, narrating. She was talking about how she's been born and lived in so many places.
Right.
So is she going to now remember all those?
I don't think so. I don't think she's going to remember it.
She was walking around. She couldn't remember her name. She didn't know who she was.
No, she didn't know
she was. She just stumbled aimlessly.
And then when the Doctor gave her the leaf, she started remembering about that.
Well, that may actually answer a question that I had.
Uh-huh.
Which is, how is it that, when we met Oswald, when we met Clara-Oswald,
right.
when we met Clara in The Snowman, she didn't know who the Doctor was. She just naturally gravitated towards him.
Yeah.
I kind of have this theory. First of all, it could be that Clara was just lying when she acted like she didn't know him, just not to complicate things. But thinking about it, I actually have another theory.
Okay. Go for it.
Which is that...
This is a theory that Ed has.
Yeah,
He's putting all the money on the table right now.
Okay,
it's another one of those brands that he marks down. We have to write this down. He's got a theory.
Okay, I've got a theory. I don't know when this is going to be answered, but when Clara was cut into a million pieces and scattered throughout time in order to save the Doctor from the great intelligent simian screwing up his time stream...
Right.
So I have to wonder if when each Clara is born into that time, that the idea to save the Doctor is kind of subconsciously imprinted and is dormant until circumstances occur where she meets him, and then something kicks in where she has to stick by the Doctor. She has to be there to save him.
Ed, may I put down that I want my name stamped on that theory too? Mark it down. I agree with you 100% on that.
Okay. Hopefully we'll have a chance to ask somebody, and they can confirm or deny.
Actually, I would like to put something on top of that.
Uh-oh.
Okay. We're going to actually throw a little bit more log on the fire, but...
Okay, all right.
I'm also seeing, if nobody else is seeing similarities with Rose, that both companions grew up as babies, as children seeing the Doctor. He's been an influence with the exception of Amy.
Right.
Both of them each lost a parent.
Uh-huh.
Both of them having a little bit more relationship with the Doctor than what normally most people have.
Right.
And that Rose is going to be in the 50th anniversary.
Ooh.
Okay.
I mean, that's a theory all in itself, but I was going to throw that on top of the fire and see what you guys thought about that.
That Rose is another Clara?
No, there just seems to be more than those two characters seem to have a lot more similarity with each other, and that they're both going to be ending up in the 50th anniversary. Whether there's going to be more companions, I have no idea.
Okay, so you say that there may be a connection between the two.
I think there might be, because if you see their storyline, each one lost a parent, each one was influenced by the Doctor as a child, each one of them has kind of a relationship that's a little bit more than, like Donna, maybe Martha, but any more of the companions who've been just a companion. You see that little angst in there when River Song comes to the table and Vastra introduces Clara as the companion, and then she had to change it to assistant, and then even Clara's going like, assistant? So, could there be that similarity between those two that's going to influence how the story runs on the 50th anniversary?
One of the things is Clara, 21st century Clara, Clara Prime.
Clara Prime would be the correct term.
Yeah, Clara Prime. The relationship between her and the Doctor has been a little bit more brother-sister, professor-student kind of thing almost.
I would kind of say that, but then when we saw He Said, She Said, one of the things that got me was when she goes, falling in love, don't fall in love.
Right.
Yeah.
And that kind of triggered me going, wait a minute, where have I heard this before? What's going on? That's when I started seeing the Rose Tyler arch.
Yeah.
Kind of it being influenced in there. I was just like, that's interesting that you mentioned that, Clara. Because besides Martha, was the only other companion that had that kind of influence. Plus the story arches, both of them ended up, Rose saved the Doctor as the bad wolf.
Right.
And she saves her Doctor
as the impossible.
As the impossible.
Yeah.
So, sorry, it sounds a little bit weird. It might be a stretch, but could I be wrong?
Well, we'll see. But I think, speaking of the 50th and theories, I think we've come to the time where we have to talk about the final scene.
Okay.
And we have to talk about John Hurt.
Now, let me just start off by saying we heard rumors that only seem to be confirmed by this final scene. It may be different. Stephen may have a different take on it. So what we may be discussing now may be slightly incorrect.
Okay, the rumor is that John Hurt is playing the real Ninth Doctor.
Yeah.
And that Eccleston was actually 10.
Right.
And was actually 10, which makes 10 and 11, which makes us on 12.
Exactly.
Now, okay, Trish and I were discussing this.
Oh yes, about how at the beginning of the Time War, all the Time Lords to fight in the Time War were given a brand new set of regenerations.
That's a good possibility. I like that. I think that would make sense if they're about to go into a big war.
Yeah, it's like.
But there's supposed to have been many time wars. So I mean, do they do it every time? This is the big,
I don't know.
This is the great time war.
Someone told me that was in one of the books.
Oh,
yeah.
So it could be that beginning of the Time War they get a new set of regenerations. So technically John Hurt could be 1. And then Eccleston could be 2, and so on.
Yeah, does it really matter?
I guess it really doesn't matter.
Well, I have a theory that can really be 2 theories if you think about it.
Okay.
But first of all, the thing is that the vibe that I got from End of Time is that during the Time War, the Doctor basically struck out on his own because he didn't agree with what the Time Lords were trying to do.
Right.
He didn't agree with it. He was actually against it. So I kind of wondered, did he, if they are following what happened in the books, and the Time Lords all got a new set of regenerations, would he have been a recipient of that largesse? Or would he have maybe missed out because they're thinking, oh, well, the Doctor's not with us, so why should we give him a new set of regenerations? Yeah. And could it be that he somehow got them not maybe during the Time War, but at the end, when Gallifrey was destroyed in order to finish it.
Right.
Well, now wait.
Which would then make for the sake of argument would actually make Matt Smith 3 rather than the new 4.
Well, see, I have another idea on how. Because, part of this also deals with the fact that it does matter which number Doctor he is because of the only having 12 regenerations. If you think about it, in Let's Kill Hitler, River gives the Doctor all of her regenerative power to revive him stop him from dying, and he may have gotten a few extra regenerations from that. It doesn't have to be from the Time War. It could be as simple as let's kill Hitler.
That's a possibility.
Or
but that also...
Or it could be that, there's no other Time Lords around to enforce that he only has, 12 or 13 regenerations. So why couldn't he have more?
If the Doctor, and let's go back to the thing about that John Hurt's Doctor, or whatever he is the Ninth Doctor. Does that mean that we have to start calling David Tennant the Doctor formerly known as 10? I mean, the Facebook people would be completely messed up. Everyone writes, I love 11. Well, now that means you love David Tennant.
Right, yeah, that would screw up a lot of stuff. However, I will say this. I do have another theory with regards to John Hurt.
Okay.
And that would keep everybody's numbers.
Go for it.
And this is the thing. My theory was actually name-dropped in the episode by the Great Intelligence.
Oh, the Valeyard.
I suspect, my theory, this is my theory, and it goes back to the main point, which is the Doctor was not lockstep with the Time Lords during the Time War. During the Time War, the Time Lords are facing the Daleks. They need everybody. The Doctor is not playing along. He's not drinking the new Time Lord Kool-Aid. So it may be that the Time Lords split the Doctor. See, one of the theories I've heard is that John Hurt may be 8.5. Remember, the Valeyard at the end of Trial of a Time Lord is still alive.
Yeah, and he's still alive.
He's still alive. So could it be that the Time Lords thought, the Doctor's not in lockstep with what we're doing, but look, we have a Doctor that's splintered off that would seem to be a little more receptive to what we're doing. So they could have gotten the Valeyard and said, well, you're just like the Doctor, but you're not going to sit there and say, oh, well, I don't like you guys. You're a bunch of stuffed shirts, and now you're being way too imperial. One of the things that gets me is, remember what 11 said. He's not worthy of being called the Doctor.
Right.
He doesn't get to be called the Doctor. When Clara sees him, she says, I've seen 11 of your forms. Who is that? She did not save John Hurt. She never had to save him. She never had to interact with him until that very end. Now, there are two possibilities to that. One possibility sides with me, that is a splinter of the Doctor that the Time Lords created to fight in the Time War.
Right.
Possible theory 2 is it may have to do with the time lock. It may be because he's so ingrained with the Time War that you wouldn't be able to access his stream, his part of the stream, because of the time lock. So the Great Intelligence didn't get to turn his victories into defeats. Clara didn't have to save him. But if my theory is correct, she wouldn't have had to save him because his splinter is not part of the main line. So it would not be part of that swirl.
Good theories.
And it matches with the fact that he does not get to have the name the Doctor. He broke the rules.
Right.
He didn't act like the Doctor. And it could also, remember, he said, what I did was to save lives. What I did was for peace.
It was for peace and sanity's sake.
For peace and sanity.
He saved lives.
He did say peace and sanity, so that makes me think that, yes, he was told, he may have been splintered off from the Doctor and then given a song and dance of, oh, you do this, you will be, this will be in the name of peace and sanity. This will be in the name of defeating a horrible enemy once and for all.
But also, if you remember way back when, if we're going down that line, remember, if we are going to be looking at the Time Lords as a corrupt society, remember the Time Lords made a deal with the Valeyard back in Trial of the Time Lord.
Right.
And if that is the case, if we are looking at that as the reality of the new one, where the end of at the end of time, where they made a deal again with the new Valeyard, and probably this theory that there is this splinter or makeshift Doctor, then he never really went away. It looks like he's trying to make his existence happen. Couldn't get it down at the Sixth Doctor level. We're going to try to continue on up until the very end to make it all happen. But I do like the fact that they used him as, like, you cannot bear the name of the Doctor. You didn't do it in my name.
I think the biggest thing here is the fact that he was not in the time stream. He was not one of the ones that Clara saved. She didn't see him.
But,
so there's
he is entrenched in the bottom of the time stream. I'm agreeing with you. I have a feeling, it could be a Valeyard type.
Yeah, it could be a it may not. It may be the Valeyard from Trial of a Time Lord. It may be something similar, where they basically took
Michael Jason doesn't look like John Hurt, though.
No, but then again, remember, if the Valeyard is the Doctor, and the Time Lords were passing out new regenerations in order to have
got to regenerate.
He would have gotten
so
he may have regenerated into John Hurt.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see on November 23rd.
Yeah.
Just a few months. A few months away.
I think it's more like 6 months away. It's quite a bit of time for theories and for rumors to be spread and squashed and quelled and a lot of things like that. I think we're almost done with the show, aren't we, folks?
Yeah, we're almost. But I would like to say we're almost done with the show, and we will, despite the fact that Doctor Who is not coming back until the 23rd, the show will be going on, of course.
We will go on, yeah.
I think, but I will have to say I do have an announcement to make. Trish and I will be taking a little bit of a break. But, Mark, I do believe we spoke about something. You do have something planned.
Yeah, well, like I said before, next week's show, we're going to have interviews with people who went to the Series 7 finale party in Orlando. Would you mind if I brought in somebody else, someone?
Well, it wouldn't. Hey, this is we wouldn't. I don't think we wouldn't mind. Hell, it would prevent you and Christian from getting lonely.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
But I do want to say on behalf of Trish and I do want to say as we wrap up this episode, one day we shall come back.
Oh, God.
Yes, we shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to us that we are not mistaken in ours.
If you liked that impersonation of William Hartnell or hated it, write to us at mark@markwho42.com.
I'm trying to be sweet here, and you have to... Come on, jeez. You know what?
No, I wasn't being mean.
I
was just giving our end of the show information.
Okay.
You can join our Facebook page, Mark Who 42's WHOniverse. Find us on geekcastradio.com, floridageekscene.com. We're also on Stitcher Radio. We're on iTunes. We're at markwho42.com. We're everywhere. You can tweet us at markwho42. It's that simple. Well, bye, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the 23rd episode of Mark Who 42's WHOniverse. It's been a blast.
And you know what? Trish and I will see you again in a couple of weeks.
You'll be back for the 25th anniversary episode.
Back for the 25th anniversary episode. See, there you go.
See,
25th anniversary episode. The return of Ed and Trish.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Mark Who 42's WHOniverse has been written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Patricia-Helm, Eduardo-m-Freyre, and Christian-basel.
Mark Who 42 WHOniverse.
The show was co-produced by Patricia-Helm, Mark Baumgarten, and Eduardo-m-Freyre, and edited and directed by Mark Baumgarten. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. Please remember to rate us and listen to us on iTunes and the Stitcher Radio app, and comment on our broadcast at geekcastradio.com. Tweet us at markwho42, and check out our Facebook page, Mark Who 42's WHOniverse. We can be contacted by email at mark@markwho42.com with the subject line, ? This podcast is owned and copyrighted by Mark Baumgarten et al. 2013.